Taekook fan fiction. Boy ex-boy story. When my sister makes the devil shy. The gentle clinking of glasses and soft laughter filled the cozy living room of Dr. Namjoon and Jin's house. A warm glow from the chandelier bathed the elegant dinner table as the smell of roasted garlic chicken and soy-glazed vegetables filled the air. Jungkook sat quietly at the far end of the table, sipping red wine, the sleeves of his white dress shirt rolled up neatly. As the youngest head surgeon at Seoul Central Hospital, he had grown used to admiration. But tonight, he was just a guest, drawn in by Namjoon's insistence. "You haven't met our best friend yet," Jin grinned, nudging Jungkook from across the table. "You'll see what we mean when he walks in." Jungkook raised a brow. "What kind of introduction is that?" Namjoon laughed, sipping from his glass. "Taehyung's a little dramatic. You'll get it." And then the front door opened. Taehyung stepped inside like a scene from a movie. Messy brown curls, a soft, oversized sweater that clung to his slim frame, and an expressive face that lit up when he smiled. He carried a dessert box in one hand and waved with the other. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was murder, and I dropped my matcha latte twice," he said, then turned to Jungkook. "Oh, you must be the famous Dr. John. And you must be the infamous Taehyung," Jungkook said, a rare, quiet smile forming. Their eyes met, deep, lingering, and something unspoken passed between them. Jin and Namjoon exchanged a quick, knowing glance. Namjoon was halfway through reviewing lab reports when he heard a familiar voice in the hallway. "Namjoon Hyung," Taehyung beamed, walking into the cardiology wing with a bouquet of sunflowers. "Brought you some cheer. Hospitals are depressing." Namjoon looked up, puzzled. "Hey, what are you doing here?" Taehyung feigned innocence. "Just wanted to see my favorite Hyung. And I was nearby. Figured I'd say hi." Namjoon tilted his head. "You live 40 minutes away." "I took a detour." Namjoon squinted. "Did you want to ask me something?" "Nope," Taehyung said, popping the pink. "Oh, but if you're not too busy, maybe we could grab coffee downstairs." As they exited the wing, Jungkook rounded the corner, clipboard in hand. Their eyes met again. "Oh, Jungkook," Taehyung greeted him with that sweet voice. "Taehyung," Jungkook replied, tone calm, but his eyes unmistakably pleased. "I didn't know you were visiting." Taehyung smiled. "Just dropping by. Hospitals aren't all gloom, not with faces like yours around." Namjoon coughed loudly behind them. "Okay, I'm going to the lab." The third time, Taehyung showed up at the hospital with coffee for the overworked medical heroes. Namjoon dragged him into his office. "Okay, spill." Taehyung shrugged. "I'm just being friendly." Namjoon raised an eyebrow. "Friendly to me or to Jungkook?" Taehyung grinned, his teeth showing. "He's just interesting." Namjoon narrowed his eyes. "You visited 3 times in 10 days. That's more than my own husband." "What can I say?" Taehyung replied, dramatically flipping his scarf. "I'm invested in healthcare." But that evening, as Taehyung stepped out of the hospital's front doors, his phone buzzed. "Unknown number. 7:42 p.m. If I promise to keep your heart rate steady, would you let me take you out sometime?" "Dr. John." Taehyung smiled, biting his lower lip. "Taehyung, 7:43 p.m. Only if you swear not to make me flatline." And that was how it began. It started with coffee. A warm cup from Taehyung at the hospital cafe. Then another a week later, with little smiley faces drawn on the cup. Soon, it became dinner after Jungkook's night shifts, walks through the quiet city at midnight, and texts sent at 3 a.m. when neither of them could sleep. Taehyung was unlike anyone Jungkook had ever known. Playful, poetic, frustratingly stubborn. He could make Jungkook laugh with one line and knock the air out of his lungs with a soft stare. One night, Jungkook messaged, 11:58 p.m. You make silence feel comfortable. Taehyung replied, 12 a.m. That's funny. You make my heart feel loud. It was raining the night Jungkook asked him out. Taehyung had stopped by with a totally innocent meal delivery and found Jungkook asleep in his office chair. Dark circles under his eyes, stethoscope around his neck, rain pattering against the windows behind him. Taehyung had just placed the food on his desk when Jungkook stirred. "Tae," he mumbled, voice deep with sleep. "You look dead. You still think I'm handsome?" Taehyung snorted. "Maybe." Jungkook sat up slowly, blinking at him with soft, unreadable eyes. "Have dinner with me. Somewhere that's not fluorescent lit and full of medical charts." Taehyung tilted his head. "Like a real date. A very real one." They went to a small Italian restaurant by the river. Jungkook wore a black coat and a white turtleneck. Taehyung wore a wine-red blazer, looking like temptation carved into silk. It wasn't the food that made the night unforgettable. It was the way Jungkook's fingers lingered near Taehyung's when they reached for the bread. The way their eyes kept locking like neither wanted to look away. "I've dated before," Jungkook said suddenly as they stood outside by the river after dinner, under an umbrella. "But this feels different. You make me feel like I want to learn someone all over again." Taehyung's heart fluttered in his chest like a trapped bird. He reached up and brushed raindrops from Jungkook's cheek. "I feel like you're the kind of man who loves deeply, but once." Jungkook stared at him for a moment, then stepped closer. "I want that once to be with you." He leaned in, and under the soft rain and golden city lights, they kissed. Months passed. They traveled together, celebrated birthdays, met each other's circles. Jungkook's apartment became their shared sanctuary. Taehyung's sketchbooks by the window, Jungkook's ties draped over the chairs, their toothbrushes side by side. On the one-year mark of that rainy dinner, Jungkook took Taehyung back to the same restaurant by the river. But this time, a violinist played softly in the corner. The menu had been personalized, and when dessert arrived, it came with a small velvet box. "Taehyung," Jungkook said, standing up slowly, hands trembling, "you taught me how to feel again. You made me believe that love could be soft and loud at the same time. You made me want forever." Taehyung's eyes filled with tears. Jungkook opened the box. Inside was a simple silver ring, elegant and timeless, just like him. "Will you marry me?" "Yes," Taehyung whispered, throwing his arms around him. "Yes, yes, yes." The restaurant erupted into cheers. It was perfect, or at least it seemed to be. The world seemed to glow for Taehyung and Jungkook in the months following their engagement. Wedding plans were underway, and between cake tastings, apartment decorating, and weekend getaways, their lives were woven tighter with each shared morning and sleepy kiss. It was during one of those planning weekends that Suyin entered the picture. She arrived at the family brunch wearing pastel florals and a carefully innocent smile, greeting Jungkook with a sugary voice and a slightly too long hug. "Wow, you're even more handsome in person," she said sweetly. "No wonder my brother's obsessed." Taehyung laughed it off, brushing her comment aside. Jungkook gave a polite smile, unaware of the small shift in her gaze when she looked at him. A week later, Jungkook's secretary buzzed into his office. "Dr. John, there's someone here. She says she's your fiancé's sister. She insists she needs medical advice." Jungkook blinked in surprise. "Send her in." Suyin walked in, feigning discomfort. "I think something's wrong with my breathing. I keep feeling faint. I didn't know who else to come to." Jungkook's professional instincts took over immediately. He ran the standard checks, asking her questions, taking vitals. "I'm not seeing any signs of abnormality," he said gently. "Have you had any recent stress? Maybe it's anxiety." She gave a small, helpless laugh. "I guess I've been feeling lonely lately. Taehyung is always busy, and I don't really have anyone close to talk to." Her hand brushed lightly against his wrist as he handed her a bottle of water. He didn't think much of it, just concern, politeness. When Taehyung came by the hospital later that day, Jungkook mentioned the visit casually. She wasn't feeling well. Nothing serious. Taehyung blinked. She didn't tell me she was going to see you. Jungkook shrugged. Maybe she didn't want to worry you. Over the next few weeks, it happened more than once. A sudden fainting spell, dizziness, chest tightness, always vague symptoms, always resolving quickly, always leading her back to Jungkook's office. Sorry to be a bother, she would say. You must think I'm a drama queen. Jungkook always remained calm and professional. But a pattern was forming, one he didn't quite see. Suyeon would call, often late at night. Just a quick question. What does heart palpitations mean again? I can't sleep. Could it be something serious? Jungkook, unaware of the emotional threads she was weaving, answered kindly each time. Taehyung never noticed the missed calls in the middle of the night or the way her perfume lingered on Jungkook's coat once or twice. Taehyung did notice one thing, though. Jungkook had started hesitating. One evening, as Taehyung leaned in to kiss Jungkook on the couch, Jungkook turned his head slightly, distracted. I'm sorry, he said. Long day. It was small, barely anything. But Taehyung felt it, like a cold breeze through a cracked window. You okay? He asked. Of course, Jungkook said, brushing his hand over Taehyung's. Just tired. Suyeon was never mentioned. Taehyung had never been jealous before. Not really. Not when Jungkook's nurses smiled a little too brightly. Not when past acquaintances tried to catch up with him at events. Taehyung had always trusted Jungkook, deeply, blindly, with all of his soft, open heart. But lately, something didn't feel right. It started with a laugh. He heard it echoing down the hallway at Jungkook's hospital one afternoon. High-pitched, flirty, too familiar. Then a voice. Oh, come on, Appa, I only missed breakfast. That doesn't count as fainting. Taehyung turned the corner just in time to see Suyeon sitting casually on the edge of Jungkook's desk, one leg crossed over the other, playfully poking his chest with her finger as he scribbled on clipboard. Jungkook looked up and smiled. Absently, you really should eat more, Suyeon. This is becoming a habit. She laughed and tilted her head. Maybe I just like your attention. Taehyung didn't walk in. He stepped back, breath caught in his throat, and left without saying anything. That night, he didn't mention it. He convinced himself it was innocent. But days passed, and the feeling festered. Suyeon had started texting Jungkook openly. She even showed Taehyung one of the messages once, acting casual. Suyeon, don't forget our little secret, winking face. What secret? Taehyung had asked, try to keep his tone light. Oh, just some health stuff. You wouldn't be interested. One evening, Jungkook arrived late to dinner. Taehyung had been waiting at the restaurant for almost an hour. When Jungkook finally walked in, breathless and apologetic, he kissed Taehyung's cheek and whispered, "Emergency consult." Sorry, love. They ate in relative silence. Taehyung tried to smile, but something burned inside him. The next day, he visited Namjoon at the hospital, hoping to distract himself with stories of wedding cakes and honeymoon plans. As he walked through the main lobby, he passed a waiting area and froze. There she was, Suyeon, sitting with a smug little smile on her lips, talking animatedly to a nurse. The same nurse looked up, saw Taehyung, and did a double take. That's the fiancé? The nurse whispered too loudly. But I thought. Taehyung didn't hear the rest. The storm broke 2 nights later. Jungkook came home late again, exhausted, his tie loose and his shirt slightly wrinkled. Taehyung was waiting in the living room, a glass of wine in hand, phone clutched in the other. Emergency again? Taehyung asked quietly. Jungkook nodded. Suyeon had a panic attack. It was a mess. I had to. Was a photographer there? Taehyung interrupted. Jungkook blinked, confused. What? Taehyung walked over and slammed his phone down on the table. On the screen were several photos, clear, high quality, professionally angled. Suyin in a tight cardigan, leaning into Jungkook's arms. Her eyes closed, face resting against his chest as he supported her. His hand on her waist, his expression unreadable. They're all over Twitter, Taehyung whispered, voice trembling, and some wedding blogs. Dr. John's rumored affair with his fiancée's sister. Jungkook stared, stunned. I didn't know. She said it was an emergency. She looked like she was on a faint, Tae. Taehyung shook his head slowly. I told you, he said, voice breaking. I told you she was acting strange. But you let her keep getting close. And now look. Jungkook stepped toward him, eyes pleading. You don't believe this, do you? Taehyung, you know me. But Taehyung was already walking away. He turned just before entering the bedroom and said with quiet devastation, I believed in us, but now I don't know what to believe anymore. The door clicked shut, and Jungkook stood there alone, breathless, realizing that Suyin's trap had finally snapped shut, and the love of his life was slipping through his fingers. The apartment was quiet without Taehyung. Too quiet. The scent of vanilla that once lingered from his candles had faded. His sketchbook still sat open on the armchair, untouched, the half-drawn illustration of their wedding cake now ghosted with dust. Jungkook hadn't moved it. Couldn't. The night Taehyung left, he didn't cry. He just sat in the hallway with his back against the bedroom door, the sound of luggage wheels echoing in his mind long after they disappeared down the corridor. He hadn't even said goodbye. The next few days passed in a blur. Jungkook went to work, smiled for patients, gave perfect diagnoses, saved lives. But his own felt like it was bleeding out slowly, quietly. Namjoon tried to talk to him during lunch. Have you spoken to Taehyung? Jungkook shook his head, eyes hollow. He won't pick up. Blocked me on every platform. He's hurt, but he loves you. I'll let her in June, Jungkook whispered. I let her get close. I didn't see it. I thought I was being kind, but she used it. Namjoon placed a hand on his shoulder. Then don't give up. Figure out what really happened. That night, Jungkook sat alone in their living room, going through every photo again. Click, click, click. Her hand on his chest, his hand bracing her back. A moment that looked intimate but wasn't. And yet, something didn't add up. There were too many angles. A clean background. Even lighting. This wasn't caught by chance. It was staged. Jungkook zoomed into the reflection of a glass wall behind them, and his heart stuttered. A man holding a DSLR camera. Professional lens. Hiding behind a potted plant. Got you, Jungkook muttered, his eyes narrowing for the first time in days. Meanwhile, Taehyung, he was staying at Jin and Namjoon's guest house. Jin knocked on the door one morning to find Taehyung curled up on the couch, wearing Jungkook's hoodie, holding it like a shield. You haven't eaten. I'm not hungry. Jin sat beside him and sighed. You don't believe he cheated, do you? Taehyung stared blankly ahead. I don't know anymore. I thought I knew him, but she looked so comfortable with him, Jin, and the way he always defended her. You know your sister is manipulative, Jin said gently. She always has been. Taehyung bit his lip, voice cracking. Then why didn't he see it? Why didn't he protect me from her? Back at the hospital, Jungkook made a call to his private security firm, friends he'd helped during their injuries in the past. I need help finding a photographer. Someone who worked with Kim Suyin around last week. I have a face, partial reflection. Send me what you have, the voice replied. We'll trace the gear serial number. Leave it to us. Jungkook ended the call and leaned back, heart pounding. Not with pain this time, but with focus. She set him up, ruined what he had with Taehyung. And for what? Jealousy? Obsession? Spite? He didn't care anymore. He would get to the bottom of it. even if it meant burning bridges to do it. Late at night, Taehyung scrolled through his phone aimlessly. His finger hovered over Jungkook's name in his blocked list. His heart ached. His pillow smelled like him. His dreams were full of him. But he didn't unblock him. He just whispered into the dark, "If you love me, Jungkook, fight for me." Jungkook wasn't sleeping much. His nights were haunted by Taehyung's teary eyes, the quiver in his voice as he shut the door on them. But heartbreak had turned to purpose now. He needed Taehyung to see the truth, not for forgiveness, but because their love had been real and no one had the right to destroy it. It took 4 days for the security team to trace the DSLR serial number to a mid-tier freelance photographer named Kang Dojin. Jungkook met him in a cramped studio behind a print shop, hidden from the polished world of hospitals and designer weddings. "You took these," Jungkook said flatly, placing the glossy photos on the desk. Dojin hesitated. "Look, I was paid to take pictures, man. It wasn't illegal." Jungkook's jaw clenched. "She hired you." The man swallowed. "The girl, Suyin, said she was setting up a prank to prove how easy it was to fool people with appearances. She gave me times, places, even what to capture. Said I'd get paid double if the pictures went viral." Jungkook stepped closer. "Did you take video too?" The man hesitated again, then reached into a drawer and pulled out a flash drive. "Yeah, for my portfolio. Didn't post it though, just raw footage." Jungkook took it with shaking hands. "I suggest you back up your files," he said, voice low. "She ruined my life with those photos. I won't let her do it again." At home, Jungkook plugged in the drive. There she was, Suyin, fixing her hair, applying lip gloss, glancing at the hidden camera and whispering, "He won't know what hit him." Then she clutched her stomach, pretended to stumble. Jungkook rushed to her, confused, concerned. She leaned into him deliberately, turned her face toward the camera, smiled, and then, click, the flash, the deception, the trap. Jungkook sank to his knees, fist clenched. It was Namjoon who helped set it up. He told Jin to bring Taehyung to their house that night under the pretense of planning a charity auction. Jin, nervous but determined, made Taehyung promise to hear Jungkook out one last time. Taehyung walked in and froze. Jungkook was standing there, pale, exhausted, holding a laptop and flash drive in hand. "I don't expect you to forgive me," Jungkook said softly, "but I need you to see what really happened." Taehyung didn't speak. His arms were crossed, guarded. Jungkook played the video. The entire room fell silent as the truth unfolded in 4K clarity. Suyin's little smirks, her practice fall, Jungkook's genuine panic, the camera angles, the setup. When it ended, Jungkook looked up with tear-filled eyes. "She destroyed everything between us, and I was stupid enough to not see what she was doing. I let her get close because I didn't want to be cruel, but I failed to protect the person I love most." Taehyung said nothing for a long time. Then, "Where is she now?" She was at the John family dinner. Of course she was. Wearing red, laughing sweetly, acting like she belonged. When Taehyung and Jungkook arrived unannounced, the room fell into shocked silence. Suyin blinked, then smiled tightly. "Tae, you're here. You didn't answer my texts." Taehyung walked up slowly, reached into his purse, and took out a printed photo, one still frame from the video. Her smiling at the hidden camera. He slapped it on the table. "I trusted you," he said, voice trembling with hurt. "And you broke me for what? Attention? Jealousy?" Suyin paled. "I don't know what this is." Namjoon stepped in, arms crossed. "Don't bother lying. The entire family just watched the full video, including your mother." Her mother stood stiffly near the wall, eyes glassy with shame. Suyin's mask finally cracked. "You never deserved him," she snapped, turning to Taehyung. "You were just some soft, little pretty thing. He needed someone real, someone like. Jungkook stepped forward with ice in his voice. Don't you dare finish that sentence. He pulled Taehyung to his side, firmly, protectively. This man, he said, looking every John family member in the eye, is the love of my life. And if you ever insult him in front of me again, you won't ever see me at another family event. Gasps, silence, and Suyin vanished. Back at home, they stood in their quiet apartment again, together. The wounds were still raw, the memories bitter. But Taehyung touched the framed photo on the wall, the one of them laughing in the kitchen while baking. He turned to Jungkook, tears in his eyes. You fought for me. Jungkook stepped closer, voice cracking. I'll never stop. Their kiss wasn't soft. It was desperate, healing, hungry with all the love they had buried under pain. And when they finally pulled away, breathless, hearts pounding, Taehyung whispered, then let's rebuild. From the ashes. The wedding was intimate, not because they didn't have people who loved them, but because after everything, Jungkook and Taehyung only wanted one thing, peace. Namjoon officiated. Jin cried more than the grooms. The ceremony was held in a quiet glass garden on a soft spring evening, with fairy lights twinkling over white orchids. When Jungkook slipped the ring onto Taehyung's finger, he whispered against his skin, no lies, no distance. Just us. Taehyung nodded, eyes wet, lips trembling. Only us. The hotel suite was beautiful, floor-to-ceiling windows, champagne chilling on ice, silk sheets in warm cream, and petals scattered across the bed. But Taehyung stood frozen near the door. Jungkook, loosening his tie, noticed immediately. He turned slowly. Taehyung's fingers clenched the fabric of his hanbok. I am nervous. Jungkook walked to him, cupping his cheeks gently. You're safe with me. Taehyung looked up with wide, innocent eyes. I've never with anyone. You know that. I know. Jungkook murmured, kissing his forehead. And I've waited because I wanted your heart first, not your body. He began undressing Taehyung slowly, reverently, like peeling back the petals of a rare flower. If you tell me to stop, I will. Taehyung trembled. Don't stop. Jungkook didn't rush. He laid Taehyung on the bed gently, worshipping every inch of his skin with his lips, his tongue, his fingers. He kissed down his collarbones, licked the shiver along his ribs, and whispered praises between every breath. You're so beautiful, Tae. You drive me crazy. Taehyung gasped softly, fingers digging into the sheets, his hips arching as Jungkook kissed lower. I want to make it good for you, Jungkook said between kisses, his voice husky. I want this to be the first time you only remember with pleasure. Taehyung whimpered, eyes wet and dazed. You already are. When Jungkook finally entered him, it was slow, achingly slow, his hand tangled with Taehyung's, their eyes locked. Taehyung cried out, not in pain, but from the intensity, the overwhelming stretch of love and pressure and feeling. Jungkook kissed his tears away. Tell me how you feel, baby, he whispered, voice thick with emotion. Taehyung moaned breathlessly. Full, it's so much. Jungkook, you're doing so well. You feel like heaven. Jungkook growled, thrusting deeper, savoring every second of Taehyung's soft gasps and needy moans. The sounds in the room were raw, skin on skin, breathless kisses, whispered I love yous between every thrust. By the time they reached the peak together, hands clasped, mouths locked, Taehyung was sobbing softly from the overwhelming love he felt. I never knew it could feel like this, he whispered after, curling into Jungkook's arms. Jungkook kissed his temple. That's because it's not just lust. It's love. Real, messy, fiery love. Sunlight filtered in softly. Taehyung stirred to find himself still in Jungkook's arms, sore in places he'd never been touched before, and glowing with an afterglow that made his cheeks burn. Jungkook nuzzled into his neck, voice deep and groggy. "Good morning, my husband." But Jungkook wasn't finished. Not even close. He leaned over, brushing back Taehyung's sweat-damp hair and placing a tender kiss just under his ear. "You look too beautiful to stop now." Taehyung whimpered, his thighs still trembling. "Kook, I can't." "Yes, you can," Jungkook murmured, eyes dark with desire but soft with love. "I'll carry you through it. You just feel, and let me worship you." This round was primal. The sound of skin meeting skin echoed in the room, joined by Taehyung's helpless cries and Jungkook's deep, possessive moans. He whispered things in Taehyung's ear that made his entire body heat up. "I want to ruin you for anyone else. No one else gets to see you like this. You're mine, say it." Taehyung sobbed out, "I'm yours, Jungkook. I'm all yours." And that night, through the silence and the moans and the heat, they both understood something clearly. This wasn't just lust. It was love, burning, eternal, and undeniably theirs.